ternyata ada di paketnya.
相変わらずやかましい奴らだ。
今度は背中合わせでいくわよ。
よっしゃ、第7班ここに復活だってばよ。 みんな渦巻きナルトが帰ってきたぞ。
Live from MPL Arena, Jakarta, MPL Indonesia Season 15 is powered by Moonton. Supported by Esports Federation of Indonesia. Presented by official tournament smartphone, Samsung Galaxy. Official e-wallet, GoPay. Official sponsor, Head & Shoulders. Official coffee, Good Day. We own this.
Kembali lagi di MPL Indonesia Season 15 dan pastinya masih bersama Alisa di week yang ke-8 hari ketiga, di mana match pembukaan hari ini kita akan melihat raja dari segala raja, tim pertama yang lolos ke babak playoff RRQ melawan Dewa United Esports. Dan pastinya hari ini bisa menjadi penentuan nasib karena akan ada dua tim terbawah yang sayang sekali hari ini akan bisa saja tidak melaju ke babak playoff. Namun sebelum kita masuk ke dalam match pembuka di hari ketiga hari ini, sudah bersama Alisa pastinya di sini, langsung saja kita undang pro player dari RRQ, ada Chen. Halo Chen, apa kabarnya hari ini?
Baik.
Baik, luar biasa ya. Chen, kita ngelihat kamu kemarin ping test waktu di match melawan AE. Nah, kira-kira kamu kapan akan dimainkan sih?
Kalau aku udah ready, kalau abang suruh main ya main.
Kalau Bang suruh main, pokoknya siap ya. Oke, dengar-dengar kamu ini juga ABX ya katanya?
Iya, ABX.
Anak buah Shin ya?
Iya.
Oke, sebagai orang yang kamu mungkin secara langsung atau nggak langsung berjasa banget nih buat kamu, mungkin ada yang mau disampaikan nggak sih buat Shin?
Buat Bang Sin, pertama ya terima kasih ya, karena mau secara gak langsung dia yang merekomenin aku ke RRQ kan. Jadi ya makasih lah buat Bang Sin.
Jadi pasti nggak bakal ngecewain ya?
Ya, gak bakal.
Oke, kita lihat ya Bang Shin apakah rekomendasi kamu benar-benar luar biasa nih. Dan pastinya sebelum kita masuk ke match pembuka ini ada yang mau disampaikan gak sih buat Dewa United Esport?
Buat Dewa, kasih permainan yang seru aja.
Kasih permainan yang seru aja. Dan kita lihat ya nanti kamu akan bermain atau tidak. Dan pastinya untuk para Kingdom, jangan lupa dukung tim kesayangan kalian. Dan untuk anak Dewa, kita akan melihat apakah di match penentuan kali ini Dewa bisa mendapatkan poin. Dan kita akan lemparkan ke Bude Clara Mongstar. Silakan Bude, take it over.
Dan masuklah kita ke dalam hari terakhir di minggu ke-8 di mana kita akan melihat pertempuran tiada akhir bagi tim-tim yang penuh pengharapan. Kita bisa melihat bahwa 3 slot babak playoff sudah didapatkan oleh 3 tim. Namun masih ada 3 slot lagi nih yang masih diperjuangkan dari tim-tim yang benar-benar ingin memberikan segalanya. Dan Bude ingin mengucapkan selamat datang di MPL Indonesia Season 15. Semuanya penuh pengharapan, semuanya tentu harap-harap cemas untuk menyaksikan tim mereka masuk ke dalam babak playoff. Sudah memasuki detik-detik akhir, memasuki titik darah penghabisan. Dan kalau kita mengingat dari minggu pertama banyak sekali yang telah terjadi. Hingga pada akhirnya di minggu ke-8 ini, di akhir hari ini kita akan mungkin bisa saja melihat ada tim yang masuk ke dalam upper bracket. Upper bracket menjadi salah satu yang diperjuangkan bagi tim-tim yang sedang di papan atas. Kita akan melihat bagaimana sih 9 tim keadaannya untuk minggu yang ke-8. Inilah dia. Dan kalau kita bahas bareng-bareng ternyata ada yang berbeda. Kingdom sudah sadar karena RRQ mereka sudah mendapatkan upper bracket. Menjadi tim bukan hanya yang pertama masuk dalam babak playoff, mereka juga mendapatkan tim pertama yang mendapatkan upper bracket. Karena kalau kita lihat dari tim-tim yang bisa mengejar hanya BTR dan Geek Fam, namun sisa match mereka pun tidak bisa untuk hanya salah satu saja yang bisa mencapai 11 match point. Karena pada minggu terakhir BTR dan juga Geek Fam akan bertemu satu sama lain, sehingga otomatis apapun yang terjadi RRQ HOSHI akan di upper bracket. Namun bukan hanya upper bracket saja yang bisa didapatkan oleh tim RRQ. Jika hari ini RRQ menang, otomatis RRQ akan menjadi juara dari regular season. Tentunya banyak sekali title yang ingin didapatkan. Satu title terakhir itu juara upper bracket. Karena benar-benar itu akan membuktikan diri bahwa RRQ terus solid dan terus konsisten sepanjang regular season. Dan kalau ngebahas tentang BTR dan Geek Fam, ini menjadi salah satu kontender yang akan menemani tim RRQ di upper bracket. Sementara kalau dari Alter Ego, tim Liga ONIC dan juga EVOS bersama Dewa United, mereka sama-sama masih punya peluang untuk masuk ke dalam babak playoff. Hanya saja nyawa Dewa terakhir adalah di match ini. Jika mereka kalah di match ini, berarti sudah tidak ada asa lagi untuk melaju ke babak playoff. Tiada harapan dan mereka harus menutup mimpi mereka untuk menjadi sang juara di season 15. Dan kalau ngebahas tentang EVOS, ONIC, tim Liga dan juga Alter Ego, mereka masih sama-sama bisa saling menyalip satu sama lain. Kita nggak akan tahu apa yang akan terjadi nantinya di minggu yang ke-9. Dan bahkan hari ini bisa menjadi penentu bagaimana tim-tim akan berjuang untuk memperebutkan 3 slot terakhir. Dan ngebahas tentang match win yang begitu dekat, kita melihat EVOS masih tertinggal cukup jauh. Namun kalau diingat-ingat sisa match dari tim-tim ini masih bisa saling membolak-balikan keadaan. Semuanya bisa terjadi. Dan mungkin semuanya bertanya-tanya bagaimana setiap tim memberikan dan menjawab harapan-harapan dari dirinya sendiri, dari timnya, dari para super fans untuk berada di babak playoff. Nyawa terakhir untuk Dewa United hari ini benar-benar harus diperjuangkan. Mereka sudah mendatangkan 2 mid laner baru. Apakah itu akan menjadi jawaban? Karena dari yang lalu pun kita sudah melihat 2 mid lane ini cukup menjanjikan. Tapi perombakan di minggu-minggu akhir tentu itu akan sangat challenging untuk tim Dewa United. Di sisi lain, tim RRQ yang sudah memegang tiket playoff, upper bracket, dan tinggal berjuang untuk juara regular season, mereka bisa bereksperimen dan menunjukkan jati diri mereka lebih dalam lagi, lebih hebat lagi. Ini adalah pertarungan yang dinantikan. Bagaimana nasib Dewa United? Akankah tertutup atau akan melanjut. Dan sebelum kita melihat bagaimana pertarungan dari kedua tim ini, izinkan Budi mengingatkan ke kalian bahwa acara ini begitu meriah karena super fans yang telah hadir di sini dari Kingdom yang lagi happy. Kingdom, hello! Wajah tersenyum semuanya, happy semuanya kelihatan di MPL Arena. Tapi Dewa United juga terus harus semangat. Anak Dewa, mana semangatnya? Masih penuh pengharapan tentunya bagi tim anak Dewa dan juga tentunya MPL Indonesia Season 15 begitu ramai karena powered by Moonton, supported by PBSI, presented by official turnamen smartphone Samsung Galaxy, official dari e-wallet GoPay, official dari sponsor Head and Shoulder, official coffee partner Good Day dan juga partner ini Sports. Ada Telkomsel, Dunia Games dan IndiHome bersama dengan advertiser Kacang Sukro dan juga Hokben. Tak lupa supplier kita RSP Helmet. Dan banyak sekali tentunya yang mengharapkan dari anak Dewa dan juga Dewa United. Mereka berharap bisa memperpanjang nyawa mereka, masih memiliki harapan. Namun di sisi lain, tim RRQ dan Kingdom mereka ingin menjadi juara dari regular season. Dan bersama-sama sambutlah, inilah dia match pembukaan di hari yang ketiga. RRQ dan juga Dewa United.
Will RRQ be crowned the regular season champs and, eliminate Dewa United out of their playoff run? Or can Dewa actually fight for their survival here at MPL ID Season 15 at the final day of Week 9? You guys are watching the English broadcast with me, Eterna, alongside with Mirko, as well as Arashi, as we're going straight into it. RRQ versus Dewa. What do you think?
Yes. To answer your question, I think yes.
2-0?
I don't know what score it's going to be, but I think it's going to be an RRQ win, unless RRQ decide to play Chen, because then there's going to be some differences definitely. But I think, again, any jungler you put in RRQ up against Dewa United, it's already going to be a win for RRQ because they have such a solid core. The other 4 players are so solid, and Dewa on the other side, we don't even know who's going to be playing in each role except for maybe. Like maybe is the guarantee. Everybody else can rotate.
That's true. We've seen a lot of shifts coming through from Dewa, so we're not really sure what lineup we'll be seeing today. But what we do know is the next 2 matches after that opening match. We have ONIC versus EVOS and Navi versus Geek. And like Bude mentioned up on stage earlier on, every match win, again, will be very telling to how things are going. Because again, EVOS at number 7, looking to find some points to make sure that they still will be able to make it to the playoffs.
Like you were mentioning, Eterna, the standings right here for the regular season, you can see that it's still very toe-to-toe, especially in the middle area of the standings. So honestly, I think match number 2 is going to be the most impactful and the most intense as well, matchup-wise, because we've seen both these teams have a bit more of inconsistencies, right? Everyone else you kind of get a feel for so far at this point in the season, but for ONIC and EVOS, man, sometimes you don't really know what to expect from both these teams.
Essentially, ONIC are the gatekeepers right now, right? So long as they continue to get points, it will be very difficult for both EVOS and Dewa to climb out of the red zone. Considering we only have 3 more slots available for these teams to make it to playoffs. Only 3 secured, 3 left. Who will it be?
Dude, all ONIC needs to do is beat EVOS and then they're done. Like, EVOS will not be able to make it to the playoffs, and all ONIC needs to hope for now is for RRQ to beat Dewa. Because if RRQ beat Dewa and ONIC beat EVOS, we have our 6 teams, I believe, in MPL Indonesia Season 15 playoffs.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Wow. So everything will be decided today, essentially.
Potentially. Unless EVOS and Dewa win, then we're like, oh, whoa, another week, I guess.
Okay. But for those of you guys back at home, we want to know what you guys think. Last hope for the playoffs, how do you guys think Dewa can get a win against RRQ? Do you think A, play with better structure, B, give maybe free hit space, or C, screen Dyron's movements?
Oof.
What do you think?
That's a rough one, man. I feel like these are all things that can work, but the odds, man, we say possible, right? But the odds, bro, it's a whole different story. Even if they do screen Dyron, for instance, let's humor this possibility for a bit. Even if they do get Dyron under control and shut him down, what's stopping Ida from popping off? What's stopping Rins from going in and making the plays happen? The fact of the matter is, RRQ are one of those teams that have multiple win conditions. So you can't have a single win solution here if you're in Dewa's position, which is why it's such a tough situation to be in, and we all feel for them.
Absolutely. And that's why it's going to come down to this. Rise to the top versus escape from the red zone. We mentioned earlier on, if RRQ wins, they will automatically become the regular season champions. Meanwhile, if that happens and Dewa loses, they will be officially eliminated from playoff contention. So both Navi and Dewa will be eliminated if RRQ wins. We're seeing some patterns from MPL ID Season 12, and it looks like Dewa have been unable to find a win against RRQ for the past 3 seasons.
Well, in Season 13 there you see one glimmering beacon of hope here for Dewa. They have to try and turn back the clock back 2 seasons to try and replicate that same kind of performance. But again, it's a whole different situation. And we still have to focus on Dewa before that. With so many members, I mean, look at the poster right here. That's a whole army, but only 5 can be fielded. which 5, right? Even in RRQ shoes, are you even concerned about which 5, or do you feel like you can brute force any single combination that Dewa can come up with?
I think because they have too many options, it's actually a negative thing for Dewa. Like, Dewa have just looked out of shape in the last few weeks, especially in the match against BTR. Up against a very greedy draft of BTR, going for Chip, Loyi, and Moskov. With no early game, with a Fredrin XP, they still lost. And they had a big goal lead too. I really feel like this team right now, it's looking like a team that is so, it's like a week 1 Dewa, you know? And week 1, actually no, week 1 Dewa was actually pretty good.
It's like mid-season Dewa.
It's mid-season Dewa that is shifted back and forth with their MPL lineup, with Rez, with too many factors moving around.
So with that, let's see what you guys thought for Dewa earlier on. It looks like 55% of you think that they need to play with better structure. What does the structure mean?
They voted for the most vague answer.
Exactly.
That shows you.
Exactly.
Even the people back at home were like, yeah, structure, sure.
Yeah.
Structure in the plays, structure in the decisions, structure in the composition, structure in the drafts, structure in the execution, the laning, the jungling, the neutral objective contest, the late game teamfight positioning.
Wow, that's a lot. That's literally everything.
Structure.
That's literally everything. So we can say that Dewa are the opposites of Geek Fam.
Oh. Yeah, they start off real strong. They're an early starter, but then they fall off. Geek Fam, they are the slowest starters I've seen in my life. Actually, Na'Vi.
Well, they never.
Pretty slow too.
They never.
Yeah, they started and ended slow. But maybe they can end on a high today by beating Geek Fam.
Well, you know, going back to that structure.
Okay.
We've been talking about Dewa and how they're swapping their rosters here and there. We've seen, you know, Spencer come in, Kesu come in. Maybe there's even an option of Azura back. Then Octa, is he going to be playing? Meanwhile, for RRQ, they have a mid duo that has been standing strong for 2 seasons now. And we've been seeing that impact and how well they've actually been able to progress together and journey together. And that's why these 2 players are on the watch list for this match. We're looking at the stats. They are one of the highest statistically proven mid duos we've seen this season.
And when people make an argument that, hey, synergy and all that, that's not a real thing, you know? If you just play and you get better. But I think you can immediately point to Edok and Rins to disapprove any kind of statement like that. Because these guys, once they showed up, because you saw the coordination, the communication as well. And they've tried different kinds of decision-making, shot-calling methods. And so far, regardless, when the 2 of them are actually on the same team, they all really it just flows so much better now. With time, RRQ has even improved and added on to this combo. But in the core form of RRQ right now, it was always Edok and Rins that initially caught our eyes and brought in that special new form that RRQ were trying to achieve back when they were reshuffling their composition and their roster.
For me, it's not actually Rins. For me, it's Edok and Dyron, the 2 guys that I feel like are just the centerpieces, the guys who can change the game. Rins is more like, you know, just the shot caller, yeah, but he's more of just the diversion, I will say, for the rest of them to make plays. Mainly, again, Edok and Dyron to play make and to change the game. Like we've seen back to back to back. When Edok doesn't get a power playmaking hero, we saw yesterday Badang, Dyron get a 3-man set against Alter Ego to turn the game around. So again, these 2 are ridiculous.
It's not as one-dimensional. Because usually we say, like, let's say Key needs a playmaking hero, but, you know, in RRQ, even if Edok doesn't, Dyron is always there and available to pick up that position or that function role.
Yeah, because I think, again, RRQ, as long as they have tools available to really exert their will onto their opponents, they've always been a team that knows what they want, right? And they're able to actually find ways to get what they need in the lane of dawn. We talked about the combo between Rins and Edok, but again, right now in the current meta, with the playmaking being such a big impactful factor, that's why Dyron and Edok is also a great combination. As long as both of them aren't really put on picks that can't really do anything, that are just forced to play passive or even reactive, I think RRQ is in a good spot. They always need one of them to kind of be aggressive, to have things, to have skills and opportunities to set something up. When we've seen that when Edok and Dyron are both on something that wants to stick around, stand around and wait for an opportunity, they don't really do that well as a team, right? So they need that catalyst, you know, that starter of the engine.
But let's play devil's advocate here. How do we think about RRQ and their structure versus chaos that we've seen teams find success on? Is that something that Dewa can actually utilize against RRQ today?
I think it's possible. I think we've been pretty fair in saying that RRQ is a very textbook team as well, especially in the early game. They have this very neat way of playing Mobile Legends, and usually when things get kind of scrambly, that's where we see the mishaps happening. But again, that's against some really high-level teams, you know? Dewa, okay, they can bring chaos, but how controlled is their chaos? Because even back then in Season 14, we talked about Team Liquid ID being that controlled chaos.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing their own thing, but with the same picture in mind, and somehow it reconnects, it reconverges. I'm not saying Dewa can't do that, but the odds, bro. Chances are that's really not something they want to rely on.
Yeah, and I feel like that whole chaos thing can only work when you're already super coordinated. I think for Alter Ego's case, the way that they were able to do it yesterday was they got their own comfort pick, which was great, and then they were able to execute because it was all their comfort picks and because they've been playing together as a team without changing a lot, only RP in the gold lane for a while now. For Dewa, it's not just that they want to be chaotic, they are already chaotic. I don't even know what's going on management, coaching-wise, because, dude, handling 5 dudes, handling 5 players is already very difficult. Now handling 3 coaching staffs has been rotating as well, and then handling another 4 players that has been shifted, with Rez joining in, with dropping off Rizzo, Vans, Hooray, Spencer, Kesu. This is wild, yo. The last time I saw a team like this was Season 13 RRQ. The Dewa, the RRQ that was beaten up by Dewa in the first leg, that was when they had 10 people in the roster, they just went back and forth.
Now the shoe's on the other foot, because Dewa United are going up against the potential regular season champions. We're looking at the roster right now. It looks like it's Sorizo, Ray, Spencer, Kesu, as well as maybe. Will they be eliminated today, or can they look for yet another chance to get to the playoffs?
Dewa's last hope, their last stand up against the Kings of Kings. They have to win, they must win if they want to continue contending for playoffs. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dewa United Esports.
Quite literally do or die right here, up against overwhelming odds against the team that is fighting for the title of regular season champions. This is where they have to make their stand and bring everything they have in the back burner.
All the pressure on their shoulders right now, going against this team. You're right, it looks like Chen will be filling that jungle position. No Sutsujin with Dairen, Rins, Edok, and Toy. Will this be a different story now?
Welcome the youngest member of the royal family, Chen, to MPL Indonesia, standing atop the mountain, looking down at their foes. It is the Kings of Kings, the most dominant Indonesian team in Season 15, RRQ HOSHI!
Coming in the critical moment with a replacement. Is this a show of confidence? Is this overconfidence? Only time will tell. That's definitely a curveball for RRQ, for Dewa to react to as well. Let's see if we can see any hints of surprise coming in from the coaches.
Yeah, I think it's a curveball to everyone, right? We're not expecting any changes, especially now that they only need 1 more win to secure the regular season champions. And what's it gonna be? I guess this is Keskute, right? In moments where they think that they should be able to secure a win, we've seen him give playtime to players, new players, to give them a little bit more experience under their belt to help that regeneration process happen for RRQ. But we don't really know much about Chen. What are his heroes? Does he play assassins? Is he a utility jungler?
With my limited knowledge, as far as I know, he plays assassins pretty well, but I'm not sure if his hero pool is anything special to speak about. Before that, we have got to speak about the battle of the Jinins in the gold laner here. Toy and Maybe. Number 1 in the gold lane average assists is Toy. Maybe number 13, so that stat in particular is definitely quite a discrepancy right there. Maybe really hasn't really been able to find so much success, but again, this is Season 15 where the gold lane is important, but the gold lane also relies so much on the rest of the team to try and make something happen.
It really seems like for Maybe, he's always kind of been, from the start of the season, the glimmer of hope for Dewa United, but Dewa, instead of playing towards him, has kind of gone on their own path of playing, swapping the rosters again, trying to play for the trio mid. It really always seems to be trio mid. Meanwhile, we see a lot of teams go with the flow. Alter Ego, they knew that, all right, we should stop playing the meta game. We should start playing our game, especially as we get towards the end of the season. I really hope Dewa United can start doing that. Play for Maybe. Just, at this point, play for your strengths.
Because if they're trying to fight for the trio mid, they're going against a trio mid that is already well established. We're looking at the stats once again for the Kings Initiator, Edok, number 1, number 8, number 6, number 2. But he's been playing a different kind of game for a lot of the games this season. Like, he can play pickoff style, he can play AoE, groundbreaking plays on the Tigreal, he can play the Francos, he can even play the chips really well. And RQ's captain here, Rins, has done a really good job at also accentuating that kind of style. He's also been able to play the Zas. We've seen him on, the long-range heroes, the artillery heroes. He's also been able to play the Valentina, the Louise really well. That flexibility is something that I don't think Dewa United have right now.
Definitely not, man. RRQ, they've made a mark for themselves by being able to have such a wide hero pool here, especially with Keskute utilizing it to its full potential. Here, there is the victory here by the Samsung Galaxy S25 series. Chen with the farming patterns and neutral objectives, especially if his team can back him up. And Dairen getting a signature playmaking hero. But honestly, for number 2, you can replace that with Edok as well. And that's where the puzzle this begins for Dewa. Do they want to be concerned about this new addition to the jungle, or do they want to still put a lot of necessary respect onto the EXP